Holidays and Holiday Prayers 209a. Festival is a day of joy and celebration. Its Arabic term is YD. Its plural is AYYD. Festival greetings are called Ta'id. And exchanging festival greetings is called MUAYEDE. When our Prophet honored Medina with HIS presence, upon learning that the people there celebrated festivals twice a year, he said to them, Almighty Allah has bestowed upon you 2 festival days that are better than those 2. In exchange for those 2 days, he announced that those days are Ramadan and Eid al-Adha. In Arabic, these are called Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. The term Eid is used for these days because they are days of joy and rejoicing, are interpreted as a blessing, or because Allah bestows many blessings on these days. Ramadan Eid lasts 3 days, and Eid al-Adha lasts 4 days, 210, for those for whom Friday prayer is obligatory. The Ramadan and Eid al-Adha prayers are obligatory, provided the conditions for the obligatory nature and performance of Friday prayer are met. However, sermons are not obligatory in Eid prayers. Delivering a sermon after these prayers is Sunnah 211. The earliest time for Eid prayers is at Ishraq. This is the moment when the sun rises 1 or 2 spear lengths above the horizon, marking the end of the time of disliked prayer. From this moment onward, it is permissible to pray until the time of Istiva or Zaval. See the section on disliked times. 212 Eid prayers consist of 2 rak'ahs each. They are performed in congregation and openly, without reciting the adhan or iqamah. The imam intends to perform the 2-rak'at Ramadan or Eid al-Adha prayer. The congregation also intends to follow the imam in performing these 2-rak'at Eid prayers. The opening takbir, Allahu Akbar, is recited and the hands are joined. All recite subhanik silently together. Then the imam says Allahu Akbar aloud, and the congregation says it silently, taking 3 takbirs. During the takbirs, the hands are raised upward and then lowered to the sides. A pause of 3 tasbihs is observed between each takbir. After the 3rd tekbir, the hands are joined. After the imam whispered EÜZÜ-BESMELE, he recites the FATİHA surah and a portion of the Holy Qur'an aloud. He proceeds to ruku and sujud by saying Allahu Akbar aloud. As is customary, the congregation follows the imam by reciting the takbir silently. Then, after reciting the takbir again, they stand for the 2nd rak'ah. The imam recites the Bismillah silently, then recites the FATİHA surah and a portion of the Qur'an aloud. 3 takbirs are recited by raising the hands 3 times, just as in the 1st rak'ah. Then the imam proceeds aloud, while the congregation recites Allahu Akbar silently, going into ruku and sujud. Then while sitting, the tahiyyat, Salli-Barik, and Rabbena Atina supplications are recited together in a low voice, and the prayer is concluded by offering the salam to both sides. In this way, each rak'ah of the Eid prayer includes 3 extra takbirs, which are also obligatory. According to the Hanbali school of thought, 6 takbirs are recited in the 1st rak'ah and 5 in the 2nd, and in both rak'ahs, the takbirs are recited before the recitation. According to Imam Malik and Imam Shafi'i, 7 takbirs are recited in the 1st rak'ah and 5 in the 2nd, and the takbirs are recited before the recitation in both rak'ahs. 213. After leading the Eid prayer, the imam ascends the minbar to deliver the sermon. He delivers 2 sermons, just as on Friday. However, these Eid sermons begin with takbirs. The congregation joins in these takbirs softly. In the Eid al-Fitr sermon, the preacher informs the congregation about the Fitr charity. In the Eid al-Adha sermon, he discusses the sacrifice and the takbirs of the days of Tashriq. What is sunnah in Friday sermons is also sunnah in Eid sermons. What is makruh is likewise makruh. Although it is permissible to recite Eid sermons before the prayer, it is considered makruh. 214. If the imam forgets the Eid takbirs in the 1st rak'ah and recites part or all of the FATIHA before remembering them, he should recite the takbirs. He then recites the FATIHA again. However, if he has recited a portion of the Quran after the FATIHA, he recites the takbirs but does not repeat the Quranic recitation. 215 in Eid prayers. If someone joins an imam who has already entered ruku in the first rak'ah, if he expects to join that ruku, he recites both the opening takbir and the Eid takbirs while standing and then proceeds to ruku. If he fears he will miss the ruku, he proceeds to ruku immediately after the opening takbir and recites the Eid takbirs while in ruku. While reciting these takbirs, he does not raise his hands, even if he is unable to complete the takbirs. When the imam rises to stand, he also rises with the imam and follows the imam in the takbirs the imam recites, as long as the imam does not deviate from the takbirs prescribed by the sunnah. One follows him in the takbirs. However, one does not follow him in any additional takbirs he may recite beyond the sunnah, whether few or many. 216. Anyone who joins the second rak'ah of the Eid prayer and then attempts to make up the first rak'ah after the imam has given the salam, first recites the FATIHA surah with the basmala and the additional surah they intend to recite. Then, by reciting the takbir silently, they complete the prayer. Those who join the prayer in this manner recite the takbirs according to their own school of thought and do not observe the number of takbirs recited by the imam. Anyone who cannot make it to the Eid prayer cannot perform the Eid prayer on their own. If they wish, they may perform 4 rak'ahs of nafil prayer. This serves as a substitute for the Eid prayer and yields great reward. According to the Shafi'i school, Eid prayers are confirmed sunnah. According to one narration, they are a collective obligation, fard al-kifaya. They are considered one of the signs of Islam. Praying in congregation is more virtuous. It can also be performed alone without a sermon. Both guests and women can perform IT alone. IT can be performed from sunrise until noon, according to the Maliki school. The Eid prayer is a strong sunnah. According to another view, it is a collective obligation, fard al-kifaya. In the Hanbali school, it is also a collective obligation. It is a sunnah for those who are unable to pray with the imam to make up this prayer later. 217. It is recommended to perform the Eid al-Adha prayer at its earliest time and to delay the Eid al-Fitr prayer slightly. The Eid prayer is performed before the funeral prayer, and the Eid sermon is delivered during the funeral prayer. 218 Eid prayers can be performed in a designated place, prayer ground, where everyone gathers in a city, as well as in many mosques. 219 on Eid days. IT is recommended to wake up early, take a bath using a miswak, applying rose oil or similar pleasant scents, wearing the finest and cleanest of permissible garments, showing joy and happiness as a sign of gratitude for Allah's blessings, showing a smile to believing brothers one encounters, giving as much charity as one can, and spending the Eid nights in worship are considered recommended and virtuous. 220. During the Ramadan Eid, it is recommended to eat something sweet, such as dates, before the Eid prayer. During the Eid al-Adha, however, it is recommended not to eat anything until the prayer is performed. According to the correct opinion, in this matter, those who will sacrifice an animal are equal to those who will not. It is more appropriate for the person who will sacrifice an animal to begin the meal with the meat of the animal they will sacrifice. However, there is nitrogen monoxide dislikeness in eating something before prayer. 221. One who will sacrifice should delay cutting one's nails and hair. Doing so is recommended. However, this delay should not occur at a time that would cause an unpleasant situation. The maximum period for this is 40 days. The most virtuous practice is to trim one's nails and excessive part of the mustache once a week, to remove excessive hair, and to maintain body hygiene by bathing. These should be performed at least once every 15 days. Nitrogen monoxide excuse is acceptable for leaving them unperformed for more than 40 days. 222 on Eid days. One should go to the mosque with dignity and calm. During Eid al-Fitr, it is recommended to recite the takbir quietly while going to prayer. And during Eid al-Adha, to recite it aloud. It is also recommended, if possible, to return home via a different route after prayer. 223. The first day of Eid al-Adha is called Yev Nahir, and the following 3 days are called AMI Tezrik. The day before this festival is called Yevamai Arif, which is the 9th day of Dhu al-Hijjah. There is nitrogen monoxide Arif Day during Ramadan Eid, from the morning prayer of Arif Day until the afternoon prayer of the 4th day of the other Eid. After each of the 23 obligatory prayers, the following takbir is recited once. These are called the THREE TAKBIRS: Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, La ilaha illallahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Vililo Hilhamd. In our country, this was once translated as follows: God is great. God is great. There is nitrogen monoxide God, but God. God is great. God is great. Praise is due to him. Reciting these takbirs in this manner is the opinion of 2 imams, and the practice is conducted in this way. According to Imam Azam, these takbirs are recited after the 8 obligatory prayers from the morning of the day before Eid until the afternoon prayer of the following day. 224. The THREE TAKBIRs are obligatory, wajib, according to most scholars of Islamic law. Some consider them sunnah. According to the 2 imams, these takbirs are obligatory for everyone who is obligated to perform the obligatory prayers. In this regard, those who pray alone, those who follow the imam, travelers, guests, and residents, villagers and city dwellers, men and women are all equal. According to Imam Azam, however, for these takbirs to be obligatory, one must be a resident, free male, and the prayer must be an obligatory farz prayer performed in congregation in a recommended mustahab manner. Accordingly, these takbirs are not obligatory for travelers, slaves, women, or those praying alone. However, if they join a congregation for whom the takbir is obligatory, they must recite the takbir. It is also not obligatory for those in villages, where Friday and Eid prayers are not performed. They are also not obligatory for those with valid excuses who perform the Friday noon prayer in congregation among themselves. Women praying in congregation among themselves are not considered part of a congregation that is merely recommended. 225. If a prayer is missed during the days of Tashriq in a given year and is made up on one of the days of Tashriq in that same year, the Tashriq takbir is recited at the end. However, if it is to be made up on other days or during the days of Tashriq in another year, the Tashriq takbir is not recited. 226. If the prostrations of forgetfulness, the takbir of Tashriq, and the talbiyah are to be performed together in a single prayer, the prostrations of forgetfulness are performed first, followed by the takbir. After that, the talbiyah is recited. If the talbiyah is performed first, the prostrations of error and the Tashriq takbir are void, for the talbiyah refer to the section on Hajj. 227. On the day of Arafah, people gathering in one place to mimic the pilgrims at Arafat has no basis in Islamic law. Some consider this to be disliked. 228. On Eid days, it is permissible for Muslims to congratulate one another, meet and shake hands, and say to one another, Gafarallahu lina vi lekum equals may Allah forgive you and you. OR Takaballahu tila mina minkum equals may Allah accept from us and from you is also recommended.